Ooh, nice one.
He actually smells the food that somebody else dropped. My name is Officer Daneker. I work for the Somerset County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit. I've been employed by the sheriffs for about 13 years. Apex is about 2.5-year-old purebred German Shepherd from Germany. He is what they call a lacquer black for his coat, and also a flat back German Shepherd. You'll see that some of the Shepherds will have a tilt in their back, which is bred into the actual Shepherd here in the United States, which isn't the best for their hips or their shoulders. So he has there is a possibility for dysplasia, but he won't be prone to the hip dysplasia that most German Shepherds are prone to. He is a single-purpose narcotics dog. He doesn't do bite work like the other handlers had explained about their dogs. His whole job is to find narcotics. Does anybody know what a narcotic is?
Drugs.
Give me a name of a drug.
Marijuana.
Okay, anybody else know another drug?
Cocaine.
Yep.
Heroin.
Yep.
Weed.
Well, same thing as marijuana. There's another one that I'm looking for.
Meth.
What'd you say?
Meth.
That's correct. Methamphetamines. Apex has been trained through also Morris County K-9, and he was trained on 4 odors: marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamines, and heroin, and all the derivatives that come in. It could be in liquid form, powder form, smoked, paraphernalia like pipes or plastic or paper that it's touched. And he's also will hit on U.S. currency that is married with the smell of a narcotic. So K-9 Apex has had roughly about 49 jobs since the first of the year. We graduated from the academy December 19th of last year, and he went full into service the first of the year. A total of 49 calls. Out of those 49 calls, he's had 19 calls where he's indicated on narcotics, or that narcotics are either in the vehicle or in the house, in a bag, in a box. And out of those 19, once we got the search warrant or got into the actual item, there's been narcotics found, or narcotics were in the item 19 times. So he's at 100% right now. He hasn't had any falses, no false indications, and he's a really good boy. He's done a fantastic job. If you see on the table, on the one side, that was a car stop out of Hillsborough Township, and we were given consent after the dog indicated on the driver's side door along with the trunk of the vehicle. And once we got into the vehicle, there was 2 postal boxes in the trunk of the car. And the person didn't own up to it, and he said, I don't know how they got my car. So we ran the dog in the boxes. The dog indicated on the boxes. And at that point in time, we applied for a search warrant to get into the boxes. Hours later, we get the search warrant, we open it up, and like Christmas morning for Apex, there's 11 pounds of edible marijuana. It's gummy bears or gummy worms, and there's chocolate truffle treats. And I couldn't smell the marijuana in any of that stuff. It smelled like candy to me. But Apex could actually smell the marijuana. It's normally made with a marijuana oil that is cooked out of the THC that's actually in the actual marijuana plant, and is then put into a candy. Which brings me to a point, Halloween is right around the corner, and who here likes to go trick-or-treating? Yeah? Have you ever decided before you get home that you're going to eat some of the candy because it looks good? Right? Well, I'm going to ask, and Apex is going to ask, that from now on, when you go home, you give it to your family first and have your mom and dad or older brother and sister look through the candy to make sure the candy's not tampered with. Because if you look at that picture when you have a chance, it looks like real candy. And it probably has a taste like real candy, but it also has a very dangerous drug in it. Drugs will kill you. I guarantee you that. Drugs aren't good, and they kill people every day. It's poison. Hold on one second. We're going to go a little bit more on Mr. Apex, and then I'll ask some questions. Apex doesn't live inside the house. He has a kennel outside, like Officer Wallace had explained. And a lot of people are like, well, why can't you bring him inside? He's a dog. I'm going to give you a good reason. When Apex goes into a drug house, Apex goes through like a bull in a china shop. He climbs over top of everything, goes underneath desks. How many people here have a dog? Do you let your dog climb in bed with you?
No.
Do your parents like your dog climbing on the couches and in the beds? Well, I know my wife doesn't like the dogs on the couches and in the beds because of the fur it leaves behind. Because I have 2 other dogs that are my pets. And they try to sneak up on the couch and they try to sneak up on the bed, and I have to correct them by saying, no, off. If I brought Apex into my house, I would treat him the same way I would treat my dogs. And the thing is, I don't ever want him to hesitate climbing onto a bed or climbing underneath the bed or getting up on my kitchen table and sniffing around. I want him to go into that house when we're looking for drugs and know that he owns that house now. If he wants to look for drugs on top of a countertop or in a cookie jar or in a cabinet, he's going to go up on that table and he's going to do that. He's not going to hesitate. And I never want to breed that hesitation into this dog because he needs to work well. And as you see, he does work well. The other picture on the other side was another call that he had gone on. It was 5 o'clock in the morning in Balmbrooke. It was a motor vehicle stop. We were called to do an external sniff of the vehicle. He indicated on the trunk of the vehicle. Once we got the search warrant, hours later, they got to the trunk and there was 150 bricks of heroin. Now, heroin is a very dangerous drug. All drugs are dangerous, but 150 bricks of heroin equals out to roughly about 7,500 individual servings of heroin that people would sell. The relative street value of that drug was about $75,000 to $80,000 of the street drugs that were taken off the street by this gentleman right here. He's got a great nose on him. His nose is probably about 10,000 times stronger than ours. When we train Apex, there's a common misconception that the dog is actually introduced to the narcotic and he gets high and that's the reason he wants to find the drug, and that's absolutely false. How he's introduced to the drug is we put the drug into a can with holes in it, and he's now interested in the can because the can has shininess to it, and he's like, what's in your hand? I want to smell it. We put the can out, his nose touches it, and then we click a clicker, and then we give him a food treat. And after weeks of that, he's like, every time I touch my nose to this can, I get a treat, and I hear this click noise. Then we introduce a sit, because when Apex finds drugs, he doesn't scratch. He's what they call a passive indication dog. So if drugs happen to be underneath his bed, his nose will go, find the drug, and then he sits and he waits for me to give him his reward toy, which could be that, or I have a ball in my pocket that he likes a lot. He's not a food drive dog. He loves toys. He would jump out of a building for this. This is his end all be all. Does anybody have any questions about? Yes.
If you were to say take that dog and go walking, but walking down the street, let's just say, and that dog started to smell somebody's house with drugs, is that probable cause for you being a sheriff?
No, there's lots of red tape. I'm not an attorney. I can't really go into the ins and outs of the legalities, but when we go to a call, normally it's a call that there's already been enough suspicion that there's drug activity. Once we get to the scene, we're then requested by the agency to actually do normally an external sniff of a vehicle or outside of a residence. And if he gives his indication, that gives us the amount of probable cause through the dog's nose to apply for a search warrant through a municipal or superior court judge, who then will review his resume, because just like your parents, your brothers, sisters, he has a resume. And every time he finds something, that find and his information goes into that resume. That resume is then produced to the judge. The judge looks at his resume and says, oh, he's a good dog. He's found a lot of finds. Okay, we'll go through with the search warrant.
I was just wondering, like, has that ever happened to you where you've been out walking?
No, not yet.
You know.
Yes, sir.
I've heard that a while ago people put a laser blade in their candy for Halloween instead of drugs.
I didn't hear you, bud. Say again?
Never mind.
Okay, yes, sir.
What other drugs are there in Halloween?
Hidden where?
In Halloween.
Oh, any kind of drug or poison could be hidden in a Halloween candy. That's
What
why.
about needles?
Well, needles, poison. When you go to a stranger's house, you have no clue what you're getting. And the best thing for you to do is to take that candy, give it to your family members, and have them look at it and tell you if it's safe or not to consume. Please. Obedience is one of the big things with these dogs. And as Detective Meyer would tell you when they trained us up in Morris County, before you can have a dog even look for drugs, you need to be able to get to the dog's mind and do obedience. Is he perfect at it? No. Does he listen all the time? No. But the key is to be constant and to constantly train with him, because this is an everyday job. When we get home at night, we don't just go to bed and I put him in his kennel. We do more training. We do obedience, we do playtime, and Pots. Pots. All the way down, Pots. Sit. Sit. Goose. And you know, I was saying a couple words that you probably don't understand. When he was born in Germany, he had some training that was involved with his rearing, and he's bilingual. He understands English and German. So when I got him, he had a couple commands that was in German, so I just stuck with it because it actually helps me out and it helps him out. So when I use the word Fuß, that means heel, and he comes to my side. Platz is to lay down, and then I use the command of place to have him actually climb on the climb bed. And in essence, he's supposed to stay there until I free him up, and his word is free. So normally when I take the toy from him and I hold it out, he's not supposed to take it from my hand until I use the word F-R-E-E. And that's when he knows he's allowed to be a dog and he's allowed to do what dogs do. Any other questions? Yes?
How close do they have to be to the drugs to actually smell it? They have to be like right on top of it so they get a quick...
No, their noses are pretty powerful. And I can tell you that just from going through certifications, we've had them trained all the way down to a cotton ball. We'll take a cotton ball that was been married with the scent of marijuana for about a month, and you keep it into a tight box, no other air is getting in there. You take that cotton ball and we can take it and put it into a big garage, and we can put it into the corner of a cabinet and let it sit there for about 20-40 minutes. I can bring him out of the car and start him at the door, and I can give him his command to search. And within a couple minutes, he will actually find that cotton ball. It doesn't have to be a large amount of weed or a large amount of drugs. He's looking for the actual scent. Just like Officer Wallace explained to you about the chicken soup. Very similar as Apex, he's not looking for human beings, he's looking for one of the four scents. The marijuana, the heroin, the cocaine, or the methamphetamines. Yes, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
It seems like these dogs now all come from Germany, the real working dogs. Why don't you have selective breeding here now?
I don't know the 100% correct answer on that. I do know that Apex, his bloodline, his lineage, is all police dogs. His mother, his father, his grandmother, his grandfather were all police dogs. And a dog like Apex would not make a really good house pet, because if he got into your house, he'd eat your couch. He'd probably dig up your carpet. He's a very active dog. He's what they call very self-loading. A lot of dogs, before you get them to work, you have to toy them up. I don't have to toy him up. The moment I get a call and I turn the sirens on and the lights on and I go to my call, he knows it's time to work. He's actually very quiet in the car while we're driving. Until we get there and I close the door, then he knows it's game time and he starts bouncing around. He wants to work. He wants to find the drugs. He wants to get his reward. And then we go home and then he goes back to bed. Yes?
Does he stay outside in the winter?
He does. Unless it's really, really, really cold out. We have very nice dog houses. The dog houses are rated for under minus 20 degrees. So would we keep him outside in that temperature? No. But he does stay out for the majority of the time, because when we get cold in the middle of December and it's icy out and it's nasty, he needs to understand that he has to work in that temperature. Like if we do a car stop and there's 3 inches of snow on the ground, I know my own personal pet dog would look at me like I'm crazy. You're there, I'm staying inside. Any other questions? Okay, thank you folks very much.
All right, if you stand by, we're going to do some questions and some prizes to give out to people who got the answers.
All right, so we've been talking for almost an hour, so now it's our chance to see who is actually listening. So we have a couple fun questions we're going to throw out to you. We're going to see who is listening. I'm trying to think of a couple questions. The first one I have is, how many dogs are in the Somerset County Sheriff's Office Canine Unit currently? You.
Oh, yeah.
Said 3. That is correct.
You're correct.
Answer
All
it in.
right. How many